இங்க இப்ப இங்க வருவாங்களா செல்வராஜ் சார்? இங்க வருவாங்களா இல்ல அங்க?
இல்ல சார், சிதம்பரத்துல இருக்காரு சார், அங்க இருந்து பாத்துக்குவாரு.
ஓகே.
அவர் பிஹெச்டி பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காரு சார்.
வீடியோ குவாலிட்டி எல்லாம் கரெக்டா இருக்குல்ல இல்லையா? நல்லா இருக்கு.
Sir, good evening, sir. Ingersal, sir, good evening. Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Welcome, sir. Very happy to meet you today. Thank you so much for joining with us today.
Pleasure is mine. You are joining from Chidambaram or?
Yeah, I am at Chidambaram, sir, now, right now. I am doing doctorate in Annamalai University in final year. I am in the college, actually. Yeah.
சீர்காழில தான் இருக்கேன்.
Sir?
சீர்காழில இருக்கேன்.
அப்படியா பக்கத்துல இருக்கீங்களா? nearby, you are also nearby only. Okay, nice, very nice. எங்க you are settled at சீர்காழி, sir?
சீர்காழில தான் வீடு. ஊர்ல இருந்து இப்ப இங்க வந்துட்டேன். மாத்தி போயிட்டு வருவேன்.
Oh, nice, very nice.
కూడా తెలీదా?
తెలుసు వాళ్ళకి హార్ట్ అమ్మాయి
We shall start at 5:35, sir. People are joining. 8 up to 5:35. From 5:35, we'll start, sir.
Take your laptop. I won't have to take what? Mommy, in a half night, take what? I'll say a word. Oh, why are you talking? Can I do that? That's one thing.
Saluraj?
Yes, sir, we will start, sir. Sir, Venkar sir, we will start, sir.
Saluraj, we can start the program.
We'll start. Sir, we shall start the program, sir. Happy good evening to everyone. Today we have an interesting topic, that is clean energy solutions for the emerging world, which is going to be delivered by an eminent speaker, Dr. S. Ingersoll, Scientist H, a former Group Director, LPSC ISRO Bangalore.
Nikki?
We are very, first of all, our chief guest for accepting our invitation to deliver talk with our members, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for joining with us today. We are very much welcome you, sir, for our program. Today's technical program is organized by Institution of Engineers Tishnapalli Local Center in association with Computer Society of India Trichy Chapter, Indian Institute of Welding Trichy Branch, Indian Welding Society Southern Zone, Indian Institute of Metals Tishnapalli Chapter, Indian Institute of Industrial Engineering Tishnapalli Chapter, Indian Society of Non-Resident Testing Tishnapalli Chapter, Kumari Arivel Karavi. IEI Tishnapalli Local Center conduct the weekly Tuesday lecture for the past 3 decades without stopping. That's what. We actually, it is we are bringing the emerging technologies and latest developments in engineering to all our members, students, our academicians, lecturers, industrial experts, everybody, and to the public. And before the pandemic, it was in physical mode. That is, we conducted in Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Hall, student BHL TLC office, where 100 capacity is AC hall. 300 seating capacity of auditorium where we conducted workshops, Engineers Day, AGM, and conferences, workshop, and all. And we conduct programs without with association with other professional bodies. And we are the role model in our BHL campus where more than 10 professional bodies are situated. We conduct regular program. And our members are more than 2,500 corporate members, 7,500 student members are there. Our boundaries from Arilur, Perambur up to Navapattinam. And as a corporate, overall, IEI India is having more than 2.5 lakh members, more than with 125 centers. So with this brief introduction about IEI, I call upon our Dr. Karupusamy, Dr. Past Chairman of our IEI System Local Center, to preside over and also welcome the gathering. Over to Dr. Karupusamy, sir.
Sir, good evening to all. I am very happy to participate and preside over the today's evening lecture program, and to extend the welcome to all the participants. On behalf of Institution of Engineers and other sister institutions which are functioning in Tiruchi complex, as informed by our Selvaraj, I extend a very warm and special welcome to today's speaker, Dr. S. Ingersal, Scientist H and former Group Director, Liquid Propulsion Center, ISRO, Bangalore. Sir,
Welcome.
I extend a warm welcome to you, sir, for sparing your valuable time and evening with us. Thank you, sir, for associating with us today, for sparing your valuable time. I also extend my warm welcome to all the sister institution members and office bearers who are assembled here for today's program with the topic Clean Energy Solutions for the Emerging World. I extend my warm welcome each and every one of you who assembled here and going to enjoy and the very useful and the current topic of the today. Thank you once again. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Karupusamy, for excellent introduction. I welcome all the participants all over the India, as well as the madam from Ramani Bhai, professor from Malaysia University also joined today. Really very happy to welcome her. And I also welcome all the participants who are come here from members and all over India, all over abroad also. So next in the agenda is I am call upon Engineer Madhuramani, past chairman of Indian Institute of Industrial Engineering, to introduce a speaker to our audience. Over to Engineer Madhuramani.
Good evening, sir. Good evening to everybody. On behalf of Indian Institute of Industrial Engineering, Renewable Chapter, and other fellow institutions, I'm happy to introduce today's speaker, Dr. S. Ingersal. So he is Scientist H category, former Group Director in Systems Reliability, Spacecraft Propulsion System and Sensors, Liquid Propulsion System Center, ISRO, Bangalore. He is basically a BA Electronics Engineer. He got his degree from Madurai University. He did MSc Engineering at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Afterwards, he joined in ISRO. He held many positions in ISRO. During 1983, he joined as Radar System Engineer at Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, ISRO, Trivandrum. Subsequently,
The Madhuramani sir, any disturbance?
Instrumentation division. During 2009, he was promoted as Deputy Project Director in Semi-Cryogenic. Are you able to hear, sir? Are you hearing, sir?
Yeah, we are hearing, sir.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, Engineer Madhuramani, for excellent introduction. Now, what happened? Madhuramani is over or yet to there?
Just a minute, sir.
Okay, very good.
He was made as Group Director during 2014, and from 2017 to 2020, He worked as Group Director in Liquid Propulsion System Center at Bangalore. So his area of specialization and interests are development and testing and qualification of pressure temperature transducers for aerospace application, vibration measurement on high-speed rotational machinery, dynamic response testing of pressure transducers, special purpose instrumentation for cryogenic test facility application, estimation of uncertainties in propulsion performance parameters, reliability studies on field instrumentation. So he is a member of, he is life member of the Aeronautical Society of India. Again, he is he is life member of Indian Society of Systems for Science and Engineering. He is an associate in the Institution of Engineering and Technology, IET, UK. He participated in a number of national and international seminars. He presented more than 5 papers in national and international seminars. In the preparation of a book, An Insight into ISRO Satellite Propulsion System, published by ISRO during 2018, he acted as a co-author. With this brief introduction, I am handing over the session to Selvaraj, sir.
Thank you, Engineer Madhuramani, for a nice introduction. Now over to Dr. Ingersoll for his presentation, sir. Over to you, sir. The platform is for you, sir, for your presentation.
Okay. Please check whether my screen is shared.
Yeah, you get your rights are given to you, sir. You please share it and see, sir.
Okay.
We welcome Dr. N. Subramanian, sir, Madurai Chairman as well as former ISRO Chief General Manager. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. Yeah, it's coming, sir. You have to make it full screen, sir. It is a PPT mode. Yeah, it is in full screen, sir. Yeah, it is.
A very warm good evening to the Untitled Chapter of the Institution of Engineers, respected Sri Selvaraju, respected Sri Madhuramani. My guru, Dr. Subramanian has joined. Sir, good evening to you. A special good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, Ingersoll. Nice to see you after a long time.
And members of the Institution of Engineers and associated bodies which are joining on this webinar. I am very happy to speak a small talk on clean energy technologies for the emerging future. Perhaps generation or creating these clean energy technologies in the coming years will be holding the future of the humanity itself. That is a very small sentence which I want to make, because the way in which we have been consuming energy from the resources available on this planet Earth, it has become unsustainable for the continuous living of the human beings as well as the living organisms on this planet Earth. So now we have to think of ways and means of how we are going to switch into a new era of generation of energy from sources which are available to us, but we have not tapped much on these sources. So let me first accept that I am not an energy technologist, or I have developed the amateur interest on these energy technologies, because taking this news that we are not sustainably living ourselves to the children had been the duty of me for the past 10 years. And I thought I will take it to the seniors as well. And I don't claim any great expertise on this energy generation or management. It is an amateur interest which I have created myself, and taking this news or taking this message to the common man and to the children, and also now I want to talk to the professionals. It is a question of sharing, and the data what is shared in this is purely taken from many sources available on the web. It is not nothing which I had researched upon or I had generated myself. So it is just a question of sharing my thoughts, and let me thank this Institution of Engineers Tiruchirappalli chapter for giving me an opportunity to talk to you all. Let me go into the presentation. For every organism to survive on this world, we need energy. For us to have our own metabolism to be made active, we need energy to carry out our activities. That is a primordial energy which we need to live, and also to make our movements, and then to live as a human being. We need energy, that we all know, and we get this energy directly or indirectly from the solar or the sun, which is our star. The star sun, which is nearby us, gives us light and life to all of us. And whatever energy we are using, whether directly or indirectly stored in the underground or receiving as an energy flow, comes from the from our star, the sun. So the energy what we use, one is to survive ourselves, to have our own metabolism, we need energy. But to make ourselves useful and have a great technological world in which we learn many things, we do many things, we have our own transportation systems, we have our own environmental systems, we have our own educational systems. For all this we need energy, and for this energy, where it is going to come from or where it is coming from is going to hold the key for the future of the humanity itself. And the true cost of this energy, we call it in terms of rupees or dollars, is not simply the cost, but it costs the environment. That is very important. It is not simply a monetary value for this energy, but we have this economic, political, environmental and social factors that are attached to it. In fact, the world was making a transition from, was trying to make a transition from the fossilized fuel energy to the renewable energy to a larger extent. There is an initiation from the people of the world, and we all know that during the pandemic there was a reduced energy consumption, and now we know the energy crisis which is going on around the world due to the Russian-Ukraine conflict, in which how this energy, how much we are dependent on this energy is very clear, that the European nations are facing a gas energy crisis. So for our life to move on, energy is very important, and the sources of energy which we are tapping, whether it is from fossil fuels or from other sources, is going to hold the key of the humanity. So, but basically at present we are highly dependent on fossil fuel energy sources. Fossil fuel means that energy which has been received and stored by organisms like plants and then phytoplanktons and algae, and they are right now stored underground, and we are tapping those underground stored energy either in the form of coal or in the form of oil or in the form of natural gas. That almost is the 80% share of our energy consumption. and that is a problem which the planet Earth is facing. I will come into that in a little detail. The fossilized fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas, what we are using right now to almost cover 80% of our energy demands. And that is what is causing the trouble. So we all know that Earth is the only planet which is supporting life. And primary energy sources, these fossilized fuel sources, we all know that it is not renewable. And it is we are having only a limited quanta of these sources, and in another 40-50 years the oil may go extinct, coal may live for another 200 years, but natural gas also is another form of fossil fuel energy, but relatively clean compared to coal or oil. And these are all limited quanta of energy available underground, which we dig and use. The energy anyway, ultimately it comes from sun, and the renewable energy sources are also coming from the solar energy or from our sun. The sun is our God. Almost I used to feel that it is our God that makes us survive, not only as all the living organisms to survive on this planet Earth. So all of the energy comes from carbon, and the nature, Mother Nature has taken some time to store these fossilized energy underground, but we are using up this energy a million times faster than the nature has taken to store this energy underground. There lies the problem. Like thieves, we are plundering these resources which are stored underground, and the rate at which we are letting out this energy, this fossilized energy like coal, oil, and natural gas, a million times faster than what nature has taken for it to store. And I would like to say that these human beings transfer and transform energy into forms useful for human endeavors. Okay, we need energy for many of our activities, for our industries, for our manufacturing, for our transportation, for our lighting and other heating and cooling for residential buildings, and also for our consumer environment. For majority of the services, what we are practiced to be using, whether it is a banking, whether it is a delivery of goods, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is transportation, whether it is agriculture, we need energy for the better life of the human beings. There is no doubt about that. We need to produce energy. The primary sources of energy, as I have told, coal, oil, gas, these are all non-renewable, and also uranium, which is also a nuclear fuel which is stored underground. Perhaps this uranium or plutonium fuel, which we have found underground the planet Earth, which we use for generation of an energy which is have a large energy density. So these are all non-renewable energy sources, and the fossilized fuel contain energy captured millions of years ago by living organisms. We are using it at a very faster rate. How we are releasing that energy is by burning these fuel sources, the fossilized fuel sources, which as a byproduct releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. There lies the problem. The releasing of carbon dioxide into into the atmosphere by using these fossilized fuels, by burning them, is a problem which is causing the global temperatures to go up, and lot of problems which I will be coming in the course of this lecture. And also I must tell that we must switch over to the renewable energy sources, whether we like it or not, whether it is economical or not, but for the well-being of the human beings hereafter, we may have to switch over to the renewable energy, which is the direct use of sunlight, the wind energy, the hydro energy, and the geothermal energy, and maybe tidal energy also we can add into that. These sources of energy should now become the primary sources of energy generation in the future, so that these renewable energy sources we must use for making our energy in the future. What is the problem with this emission of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere? Perhaps all of you may be knowing that the amount of carbon dioxide which we have in the atmosphere is measured in terms of parts per million. The pre-industrial revolution value of this amount of carbon dioxide was around 280 parts per million, 280 parts per million. And now this amount of carbon dioxide has increased to almost 420 parts per million. If you really look into what does it mean, this 280 parts per million, if I pour the atmosphere into a million jugs, you take a million containers, and if I pour the atmospheric contents into this into a million number of jugs, million means 10 lakhs, 280 of these containers will be holding carbon dioxide. That is a very small amount, you all know. Out of 10 lakhs, 280 containers holding carbon dioxide in the pre-industrial era is an insignificant value, we may think, but the chemical or the nature of the carbon dioxide as a gas is something which is very interesting. A triatomic molecule, this carbon dioxide, even though it is smaller in quantity, the quantum of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere almost determine the average temperature of this planet Earth. That is one key thing which we must understand. You can see in this graph that the amount of carbon dioxide which the temperature increase. This is what this graph tries to tell you. The temperature increase from 1990 onwards up to this point, from almost to a value of 1 degree centigrade increase. An increase of 1 degree centigrade from 1990 to 2020 is a very disturbing factor. That we may think that what is this 280 to 420 ppm, and what is this temperature rise of 1 degree centigrade over a large amount of temperature fluctuations every day we face. That holds the key for the science of this global warming. And it is better to understand that the average temperature rise of around 1 degree centigrade. Right now we are having a 1 degree centigrade warming, but that is a very disturbing trend. And what is livable as per the scientists is, if we cross a 2 degree centigrade average temperature rise planet Earth may not be very conducive for our lives to progress further. And in terms of carbon dioxide content, if it is a doubling of the pre-industrial value of carbon dioxide into 560, that is 280 into 2, 560 ppm is the almost danger level, and we should never reach this danger level by releasing of carbon dioxide. Right now we have reached almost 419 to 420 ppm of carbon dioxide, and the rate of increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is around 2 parts per million per year. That is the rate at which we are putting this carbon dioxide into this atmosphere by way of our energy generation activities. You can see the sharp increase in temperature from 1990 to 2020, an increase of 1 degree centigrade, which is the most disturbing trend, and how to arrest it by clean energy technologies is my request, and also the theme or the heart content. Now I will show a graph of how this carbon dioxide is increasing to a larger extent from the pre-industrial era to right now. Let us have a quick look at how this carbon dioxide is increasing. You can see the graph, and then you can see this increase in carbon dioxide, how every year, see right now the year is 1983, 1984, 1985, how it is moving away from this 280 parts per million, how it is increasing every year. You can see that there is an increase of around 2 parts per million increase right from the 1960s to up to 2020. You can see how this carbon dioxide is increasing. You can even see that the per year fluctuations, per year seasonal fluctuations are also you can see, and this is what how the carbon dioxide increasing is looking like. On the left side of the graph, you can see the northern hemisphere increase on the right, and the southern hemisphere of the planet Earth increase. The northern hemisphere, which consists most of the population and most of the advanced countries, they increase the carbon dioxide level, and it is almost reaching to 420 parts per million of carbon dioxide. You can see how a graphical way of looking at it. It will be more appealing that how this carbon dioxide is increasing from the year 1900s, and how steeply it is increasing from 1990 to up to what is 2020. The pre-industrial carbon dioxide was around 280 parts per million. In 1980, it was 336, and on January, today I have checked up that in May 2022, it is around 419 parts per million. The ice ages which the planet Earth faced, of course, and the planet Earth has faced temperature extremes, but that has never faced this 420 parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Okay, so let me continue with this. Okay. These rising planet temperatures, of course, not with one source of data. It is with 5 sources of data, how the rising temperature is now happening after 1960 to 2020, which the planet Earth has not seen over a period of 10 lakh years. That gives us the clue that we are in an unprecedented situation of an increasing temperature. But you all may feel that what is this 1 degree in the centigrade temperature increase? how it affects. You all know that as a huge thermal mass, if you consider this planet here as a huge thermal mass, if this huge thermal mass, if it heats up to an average temperature increase of 1 degree centigrade, even if you stop putting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, once it heats up, it may not cool down. It may not cool down. So, allowing this temperature rise to around 2 degrees centigrade or even more than that. After that, even if you switch off all the carbon dioxide emission into the atmosphere, it is an irreversible situation. That is what we must understand. We cannot bring back the environmental conditions which were existing. You cannot take back the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. That is one thing. And even if you are having a zero emission of carbon dioxide in the later years, it becomes an irreversible situation. This is the science of this climate change. Okay. And you can see that we have seen these graphs only with a temperature increase, but the amount of carbon dioxide also has been measured over thousands of years up until today. This increase in carbon dioxide is closely following up the increase in temperature. So it is very clear there is a correlation between the amount of carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere and the increase in temperature. That is the clearest indication that the carbon dioxide is a clear indicator of the global warming which we are all facing now. Okay, the amount of carbon we are putting into the atmosphere is measured in terms of gigatons of carbon dioxide. Now, at present, China and India, which are the evolving countries, which are the countries which are having an improved lifestyle, and people are now becoming affluent and they are using more energy. But the primary sources of energy in these countries are also from the fossilized fuel sources. And so we are putting more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Whereas if you say, you can see the graphs on the left from India and China, where our putting of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere is increasing, whereas in the advanced nations like United States and the European Union and Japan, the amount of carbon dioxide emissions are coming down. There is a tendency to coming down. They are using renewable energy technologies to a smaller extent. So they have a decreasing trend of putting the carbon into the atmosphere. That is on the right side. You can see that the United States is now putting only around 4.8 gigatons of carbon dioxide, whereas India is putting almost more than 3 gigatons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and China is putting more than 12 gigatons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So the amount of energy which is consumed by the human beings in various countries differs to a larger extent based on their economic prosperities, and this economic prosperity and the energy where they derive from this energy indicates how much amount of carbon dioxide these nations are putting into the atmosphere. Okay. So now, where is the solution? The solution lies where? That is the question. The solution lies in the use of, as I have told, we have to use renewable energy technologies. These renewable energy technologies are already there. Whether this mix-up of renewable energy technologies and the generation of energy from these sources will be good enough for our energy requirement, which is huge. Our energy requirement for all our activities is a huge amount. Whether these renewable energy sources will be good enough to make this energy, this is what, which as a technologist, I am always interested in the numbers. It is not just a qualitative statement that we can use renewable energy sources and that is enough to meet our energy requirements. But what are all these energy sources? You can see the hydro power, which is almost saturated. We have almost used this hydroelectric power. Hello. Hello. Mr. Selvaraju. Others can just switch off, mute their mics. Hello, Mr. Selvaraju. Are you hearing me? Hello.
Yes, we are hearing you.
Yeah, others can mute their mics, sir. And
Okay. Yeah.
These energy sources which I have displayed here, the biomass, the solar energy, the geothermal energy, and the wind energy, these are all, of course, all comes from, except from the geothermal energy, all these energy sources are all, again coming from our star, the sun. This combination of renewable energy sources, as I have made a survey of what is the quanta of energy available from these renewable energy sources, it is possible to power the world with these renewable energy sources. But what is the quanta available? Whether it is enough? That is what my first lookout was, and I have found that enough energy is available from the renewable energy sources, but there are technologies which are to be developed to use these renewable energy sources to meet our energy requirements. Again, what are all these energy sources which are available to us? Renewable energy sources I have put. I am not going to read into this. The wind energy, the geothermal energy. Here only the geothermal energy is the only energy which is stored underground, and which was this energy planet Earth got when it formed as a planet. And due to the radioactive sources which are in the core of the planet Earth, and also the heat, the enormous heat which is inside the core of the planet Earth, that energy can be tapped as geothermal energy. And for your information, a nation called Finland and a nation New Zealand, they use this geothermal energy to a larger extent to, but it is a geographical location of the individual nations, which is geothermal energy can be used of. It cannot be used from in all other nations. The geographic locations on the plate tectonics of this planet Earth, and there you can tap this geothermal energy. The wind energy, of course, we know that India is a good amount of wind energy India is producing, and this wind energy are from the wind generators or the windmills which we are having. The windmills which we are having is only of 500 kilowatts, 1 megawatt or 2 megawatt. And nations are having 5 megawatt windmills, other advanced nations are having. But nothing, it is dependent on the environment again. If the wind is not there, energy will not be produced, and it is a seasonal energy. Geothermal energy can be an all-around energy. Hydropower, almost it depends on the potential energy of water, which is stored as and it is tapped into a kinetic energy, where we use the water stored in the dams to generate electricity. Biomass, of course, is a good source of energy, which we can make it from wood and ethanol, which comes from sugarcane, or this ethanol can be made from corn. These type of sources can be there. They are also relatively clean, but not totally clean. The solar energy, which we can convert by the photovoltaic cells, that holds the key. In fact, that direct conversion of the solar energy by photovoltaic cells can be used to a larger extent to generate electricity. One thing we must understand is today's thermal power, which is generated at a thermal power plant, the transmission losses are more than 50%. What is generated as a watt, as 1 watt at a manufacturing or the generating thermal power plant, when it reaches our home, almost it is only 40% of the energy is flown. Whereas the solar energy through photovoltaic cells, which we are generating at our own home or at our own locations, can be more than 80-90% can be used. So directly a 50% gain we are gaining by generating energy sources at our own place. That is very, very important. So the quanta of these sources of energy, renewable sources of energy, we will have a look at it, and you can very clearly understand that this quanta of energy, renewable energy, is much more than enough to power this world or give the energy to this world. The solar energy, as I have put here, in fact, I have a solar power plant at my home. I generate 3 kilowatt of energy, and my whole house runs in solar power. I don't dependent on the electricity board for my energy sources. My power is free at home. To an extent, we all can do that. The solar energy generated in India stands at 46 gigawatts. 46 gigawatts. Our total power installation is around 400 gigawatts, out of which 46 gigawatts of power comes from photovoltaic power generation. India stands as a shining example of using renewable energy sources compared to other nations. We can have another way of using the solar power by heating up directly a metallic source by concentrating the solar energy onto a thermal mass, and then that heat can be used to run a turbine. These whatever reflectors you are seeing are tracking the sun and focusing the solar energy to a distant thermal mass. That thermal mass gets heated up and runs a turbine, and then that generates electricity. This is called the direct generation of electricity from the solar power, and it is called concentrated solar power. Such devices, such systems are available in the world. In a nation, Spain, they are powering an entire city by this type of concentrated solar power. These technologies are available, but we have to invest a huge amount of money to make this type of renewable energy sources. The wind energy, of course, I was telling 5 megawatt wind turbines are available. We are having normally in our place something up to 2 megawatt, and it is seasonal dependent, and only for 6 months of the year we can have wind energy, and other times we cannot use this. That's a small drawback. And biomass, already I have told about ethanol, which can be made from sugarcane or from corn, and then this can be used for as an alternative to the oil and are a good mix of ethanol and petrol or ethanol and diesel. This can be powering the transportation sector, which is a relatively clean energy. And the geothermal energy, the primordial energy which is stored inside the planet Earth in its core, that heat can be used for producing energy. And this is what I can tell you, that our India is a shining example that more than 25% of our energy comes from renewable energy sources. I am so happy to say that whereas other nations have only 7 to 8% of renewable energy used as a total amount of energy, India is having around 25% of sources for its consumption from the renewable energy. That is a very encouraging sign. This primary energy consumption by the various nations, it is measured in terms of exajoules. Exa is 10 to the power of 18. We measure it in terms of terawatts or exajoules, or in terms of British thermal units. There are so much of energy units and its equivalent conversions, which we should become proficient to understand what is the type of energy requirement or the energy consumed by the various nations. I can tell you that this is a very important slide as far as we are concerned, that the total energy requirement is 15.7 terawatts. That is, a tera is 10 to the power 12 watts. This is the type of energy the whole humanity is using. And if you divide it by the population of around 740 crores, but today I have checked up, it has almost reached 800 crores of population. So the average energy which every human being consumes is around 2000 watts. 2000 watts of energy. If you say watts, then you know that every second we are using 2000 watts of energy, whether we are using it or not individually. It's an overhead on every citizen on this planet Earth. And we all must know that our metabolism generates 100 watts of energy in our body for all our activities. So every human being almost uses 20 energy servants. 20 energy servants they are using for all of other energy consumption activities. One human being uses 20 human beings equivalent of energy generation, which we are taking from the fossil fuel sources. That is the problem. And this 2000 watts average, it is only an average on the every citizen of this planet Earth, but it is not so, and it widely varies from country to country. That is very, very important. India uses almost 2000 watts or slightly more, whereas a country like United States uses 10,000 watts per capita. Every individual in the North American nation, they use more than 10,000 watts. And the Gulf nations, it is more than 20,000 watts. So, if we are, it depends on the economic prosperity of those nations. But still, they continue to use the fossilized fuels. So, if the advanced nations spend more than 10,000 watts of energy per capita, and the nations which are getting empowered and they are working, moving with prosperity, if they start using the same amount of 10,000 watts of energy which the advanced nations are doing, then we will be requiring more than 4 times of the present energy which the world consumes. That's a very disturbing trend. So if you are now using 15.7 terawatts per second for the whole world, if all the nations use more energy as they become affluent economically, it will be more than 63 terawatts of energy which will be required for powering powering all the activities. Perhaps if we take this energy from fossilized fuels, that is the end of humanity. The carbon content will go more than twice the industrial content of 280 parts per million, that is 560 parts per million, and humanity will not be able to survive this climatic onslaught. This is what I want to tell you. So where this energy is going to be used, where we are using this energy of average 2000 watts, it is in the 4 sectors: industrial, that is manufacturing sector, the transportation sector, the residential usage, and for the commercial usage. These accounts for more than what is our requirement. So where this energy, I told that everyone is employing some 20 energy servants, an average of 20 energy servants. Who are these energy servants? These energy servants come from fuels which are stored underground and which are coming, fuel flows, that is the energy flows which are coming from external sources. These energy servants come from stored energy and from natural flows of energy. Two types of energy servants are there for every individual citizen of this planet Earth. One is from the flow of energy coming from the external world, that is mostly from the solar energy, and the energy servants which are coming from the fuels which are lying underground. The mix of these energy servants which we are employing will be determining the future of this humanity on planet Earth. That is what we have to understand. So I have talked about the energy flows which are coming from external and fuels which are stored energy, which is biologically stored energy already lying underground. So these energy flows and fuels we have to differentiate, and if you are using these energy flows which are coming from the external world, which is renewable because it is coming from the external sources, mostly from the sun. These energy flows, these are the renewable energy sources. If we are using this for powering up the world, well, it is fine. If you are going to use the fuels already which are existent on planet Earth from the fossilized fuels, that is going to cause a greater damage. But an exception is the nuclear type of fuel which is stored inside this under the underground, that is uranium. Of course, there are a lot of discussions about whether we are going to use nuclear energy to a larger extent, but to an extent it is clean energy. Only there are problems with storage of the waste made from the nuclear plants, but they don't let out any harmful emissions into the atmosphere. And we have some worries about the safety aspects of the nuclear power plants, but they can be made safer. And this nuclear energy, which is also a fuel type of energy, can be used to a larger extent to have energy from the fuel, which is having more energy density. The energy density is more important when we are using 10,000 tons of coal per hour to make energy, whereas a small few kilograms of uranium can give us the same amount of energy. That is what we have to look into in terms of energy. density. So this energy which I am talking about, this is what right now what we are using is from fossil fuels, nearly 80%, nuclear is only hardly 5%, and the remaining I have put the energy usage of various areas on planet Earth, various continents, the average energy what I have talked about from 2000 watts to 10,000 watts is put in this graphical form. And this India's non-renewable energy sources, which I told about, that nuclear source is giving only 3% of our total generation. Almost 25% of energy comes from renewable energy sources, whereas the thermal power plants give us more than 70% of our requirements. For the transportation sector, we are largely dependent on import of oil for our transportation, and that consumes a lot of money as our economy is being pulled down by the import of this crude oil imports. So the nuclear power is hardly 3%, and it contributes only 7,400 megawatts. So the sector-wise, what is the power capacity in India? I have put the total capacity is around 400,000 megawatts. That is what India produces, the installed capacity. How much is private sector contribution and what is the state and central contribution? These are all data which can be used by students and other people. This is available in the Ministry of Power's website. So we have around 400,000 megawatt of energy installation capacity. So what's the share of this energy coming from? It is coming from fossil fuel around 70%. The renewable energy is around 39%, and nuclear energy is only 1.7%. And an economic prosperity of the nation depends on the global gross domestic product index. The gross domestic product index, or the economic might of every nation, is represented in terms of its manufacturing capabilities. That India stands almost fourth to fifth in this ranking. That is how much energy we consume or how much money flow we are having. That determines the GDP, and it is taken as an index of prosperity among the nations. Whereas now there is an index called the Human Development Index, which is dependent on other factors like life expectancy, the educational capability of the citizens, the standard of living. These are all put together as a Human Development Index. In that, our nation stands a poor 139th rank out of 181 countries. That has to be improved upon. This is for the statistical information which I have put. We have to grow in terms of Human Development Index rather in terms of gross domestic product. That is one thing which we must take care of. So, can we make it alone with renewable energy sources? That's what I was telling you. The sun's energy, which can be directly converted into electricity, the solar energy, what we are getting onto the planet Earth, every square meter, and the total amount of energy is more than 11,000 times more than what our present requirement is. The solar energy alone can give us 11,000 times of energy requirement of this planet Earth. So we can use solar energy, which is 11,000 times available. It is possible. The geothermal energy, which is which amounts to around 44 terawatts. 15.7 terawatts is our complete requirement. The geothermal energy of 44 terawatts is 3 times the requirement of the whole humanity. So we can use this geothermal energy, which is a renewable energy, for generation of our energy requirement. The biomass also we can use it, and whatever we can have 11 times our requirement of 15.7 terawatts, that can be totally be used. So now you will understand that there are renewable energy sources available, which is more than the requirement of the human beings. What is preventing is a huge amount of investment is required for using the renewable energy sources to meet our energy requirements. The solar power is 11,000 times available. The sun is relentlessly beaming energy towards us. So we can use a large amount of this by photovoltaic cells and the direct solar power. The hydro power is what is available for the human beings is only 12% of our requirement. Of course, we are using it to a larger extent. The geothermal energy available is 3 times our energy requirement, we can use it. So the human power energy consumption of 15.7 terawatts per second is equivalent to almost 500 exajoules per year. This is the requirement of human beings as of now. And today I was looking at the in the net sources that it has increased to around 500 plus exajoules per year. So as a technologist, I don't believe on quantitative, qualitative information. I largely dependent on the exact number what is available and what is required to make it carry forward. So it is very clear that the energy as an energy flow is available for humanity to use as renewable energy sources, but an investment to a larger extent to have technologies is what is required to power us with renewable energy in the years to come. So this is the type of energy consumption forecast which is going to come from different sources. Gradually our dependence on coal and oil is going to come down, but the prediction is by around 2050 you should have 0 carbon emissions. You can allow the carbon emissions to continue or reduce it to a larger extent. Then by 2050, if at least by 2050, if we are having 0 carbon emissions by generating our energy sources from renewable energy, then at least the human beings have a better chance of survival and our future generations to have a comfortable living. But we are not anywhere near to that. That's what I want to tell you. The clean energy technologies that are to be developed, I have listed down these technologies which have to be developed in future, or at least a few of them are being already in development. Nuclear fusion type of energy has to be developed. I think it may take another 30 years to have a nuclear fusion type of energy, which is totally a clean energy, which is having more energy density that can hold the key for our future energy requirements. But right now, human beings don't have the technology to generate fusion type of energy. And you can very clearly see that we can see carbon which is let out into the atmosphere, we can capture and put it underground. That is what is called carbon sequestration. These are all called energy engineering solutions. Let out the carbon into the atmosphere, capture back and put it into the earth. It is not an elegant way of doing it, and it costs a lot. 0 carbon plastics, geothermal energy, already some nations are using. hydrothermal storage, of course, we know, and we have to have drought and flood tolerant food crops. The food crops right now are going to, the production is going to come down as the global temperature increases. So we have to find some food crops which are tolerant to this increase in temperatures, zero carbon alternatives to palm oil, and then we should have zero carbon fertilizers, and we should have zero carbon cement and zero carbon steel. By that, what I mean is, in the production process of making a cement or steel, we have to use renewable energy sources. Okay, key technologies that have to develop. We have to develop high efficiency photovoltaic cells. Today's photovoltaic cells are only hardly 20% efficiency in converting solar energy to electricity, whereas we need more than 40% efficient photovoltaic cells, which are already being developed, and we can have this technology. Lithium ion batteries, which are more energy efficient and more thermally tolerant, and these type of batteries are to be developed. The superconductivity technologies by which the transmission losses can be reduced, such type of superconductivity technologies to be developed. We must use electric vehicles for transportation rather than using petrol or diesel powered vehicles. I think it is coming up, but there are some initial problems with which the batteries are burning, or the thermal management of these lithium ion batteries. That is a technology that we have to develop. Hydrogen as an energy source is one very good option. By way of using fuel cells, we can generate electricity. Hydrogen-based fuel cells for electricity generation is a good intermediate option of having energy, wind energy to a larger extent, and more than all that, simplicity in life, and making our systems, which at present we are using the motors, turbines, and IC engines, more efficient. That is more important. High efficient systems. Our present day systems of motors or turbines or IC engines can be made better in their energy efficient conversion process. We should never waste energy as a heat energy in our systems. So that type of energy efficient system should come up. We should have a life which is very simple and less energy consuming. Green building technologies and nuclear fusion energy is the ultimate source of energy which we can develop as human beings. That will be the ideal solution. Until then, we have to survive with many other technologies which are intermediate, but that is what we require actually. And there are some conversion factors which I have given. It's all available, because it's almost confusing that in terms of watts, in terms of joules, in terms of British thermal units, and in terms of exajoules. These are some things as engineers and technologists we must be familiar with. So these data, whatever I have been talking about, are from various sources, and the material from which I have derived my information came from these two sources. One by Professor Richard Wolfson, and another a book by Bill Gates, that is discussing more about the technologies what we have to develop for having zero carbon emissions by 2050. So thank you for all your patient hearing. I don't know how much of information I have transferred to you, but the idea is we have to use renewable energy sources for making our energy, and make zero carbon emission by 2050. And and increase of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere should be limited to less than 500 parts per million for our future generations to survive on this planet. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. It was an excellent presentation, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Really, we covered a gamut of all the clean energy solutions. Really, thank you so much, sir. Are you able to hear, sir? Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Now the session is open for questions.
I would like to
Okay.
have a feedback from the participants.
I will go first. I will go first if there is no disturbance. Hello? There is some cross voice coming. Hello? Is it okay now?
Yes.
Okay. My simple question is, having said so many things in a very exhaustive way, Brother Ingersoll should answer one question.
Yes, sir.
See, now carbon footprint is becoming a tool, a parameter. See, hello, I'm putting a simple question. Please, no disturbance, please. Brother Ingersoll, the presentation was very convincing. My simple question is, unless we have a simple parameter of carbon footprint, you see, carbon footprint, for example, 1 liter of water, what does it mean to equivalent of carbon dioxide?
Yes.
1 liter of RO water, which you are very fancy in carrying, day in, day out,
Yes, sir.
and use it even though it's required or not, damaging our health. See, unless this carbon... Hello? There is some disturbance in between. See, unless we have carbon dioxide equivalent or carbon equivalent of each material we use, we will be not doing any sort of a focus. That is number one. Second, see, as a student of United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, February 22 report, the risks and damages are very clearly established. For example, in Karnataka, the temperature is rising, the rainfall pattern is changing, and we are not tuning ourselves, even though we have the state government climate action plan. See, way back in 2005, if I am right, Dr. Manmohan Singh ji came out with a national action plan, climate action plan. See, we have so much of a theoretical understanding, but we are not having an action plan. Kindly, why not we focus on that very specifically? Because you spoke so well on the different sectors which can do a lot. Now, point number one, carbon footprint should be an important parameter, not HDI and GDP and all. These are all bogus. I don't agree with that. Simple carbon footprint, which engineers can understand. Second, an action plan. These are the two questions. Ingersoll may please look into this. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you. This carbon footprint in terms from this, say, an average consumption of, say, 2000 watts per capita of human beings around the world, we understand that what is the amount of emission of carbon which we are putting into the atmosphere in terms of grams of carbon dioxide or kilograms of carbon dioxide, which is a very simple equivalent which we can make. And this carbon footprint is not equal for every human being in this planet Earth. The affluent nations, the carbon footprint per capita of those citizens are much more than the nations which are growing. So that is one thing which really, which we have to put it out. What is really the carbon footprint of every citizen? And we must know that what is our carbon footprint. That is one thing which is very clear. And the action plan as per IPCC is, that's what I have told you, that by 2050, we should aim for zero carbon emissions.
No. That's a projection. Ingersoll, that's a projection. See, what is required is Indian average carbon foot as per government of India is 1.9 tons of carbon dioxide per year.
Yes.
And we Indians, as per IPCC, we are in a safe zone of making our life 4 times better. Average Indian, not the richest, causing more harm. So already it is quantified. But the question is, the state should have an action plan. For example, you see, district disaster management plan helped us to come through the COVID-19.
Okay.
We must have district disaster management plan reflected in the carbon change also.
Right, sir.
You
Sir,
see,
I fully agree, sir. I fully agree that an action plan, like people like us, should join together and make an action plan.
That's right. That's right. See, it's your presentation was very good. Thankful you got to put a lot of information to us to make us think. But if these two things are not done, you'll be going for a propaganda. You'll be going for only saying something, doing something else. That should not happen. That's our own concern.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
So myself, Muriyasa Pandian, Honorary Secretary, Osur Local Center. Excellent session, sir.
Yeah.
I came with you during the Tamil Nadu Science Forum Children's Festival.
Yeah.
That is excellent. But the thing is, how to take it to these children now? That is important now.
Yeah.
This message now should be passed on to the children. The impact. See, we are all discussing. Our responsibility should be all these important things. Now we should move to take it to children. They are the people going to come out with the more solutions.
We have created the harm and children have to rectify it. Okay.
What's that?
Well said. We create problem, they should solve it.
But there's a meaningful way or an understandable way this has to be translated to the children. That's what.
Yes. It should be simple. They should understand with small experiments like that.
I am on my way. I am not doing that.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Okay, I'll contact you. I'll discuss with you. Thank you.
Dr. Ingersoll, sir, I have a question, sir. Actually, BHL, we make coal-fired boilers because of this, plants protocol and all. We are now government is directed towards renewable energy, the solar, wind, all renewable energies. How about the stability of load, sir? That is, you see, coal-based plants, we can increase or decrease. We can vary the fluctuations, load fluctuations. How about regulate this renewable energy, sir? Wind will not be available throughout the year. Solar may not be there. What to do, sir?
There are good mix of these renewable energy sources we must use. Of course, the greatest advantage of the fossilized fuel sources is the stable supply of energy. That is one thing which, that is why we are wholly dependent on them. That is, for that only I was talking about the nuclear energy. Nuclear energy option, though in terms of safety or in terms of the waste storage, we have some apprehensions. Nuclear fission energy, which what we are using right now, can be a good alternative, but it is very costly. You all know that the initial investment for the nuclear fission energy and combined with our apprehensions have stopped us to a larger extent in investing into nuclear fission energy. But nuclear fusion energy, which right now the sun is a great example of nuclear fusion. We are seeing the real day-to-day example, that fusion energy development should come forward, which will be zero radioactive and which will not put any harmful emission into the atmosphere. So these are all, this fossil fuel dependence is mostly depending on the energy density which is coming out from that. One thing I would like to tell you is the chemical energy which we are using outside the nucleus of any atom. That is the electrons wherever we get into the nucleus of any source, an atom, energy density is higher. That is the enormous power of the nuclear energy. Once you look into the, go into the nucleus and convert it into energy, that gives us million times of energy or even more than that. So that is what we have to look at. But that energy will come only after 50 years, 40 years. But until that time, if you put carbon into the atmosphere, we don't have a future. Like in Tamil, we used to say, "Kannai vittu sithiram vaanguvathu." Kannella ஓவியம் வாங்கி என்ன பண்றது? அந்த மாதிரி எல்லாத்தையும் முடிஞ்ச அப்புறம் நாம என்ன செய்யறது? அதுக்கு முன்னாடி நாம ஒரு மிக்ஸ் ஆஃப் ரினியூவபிள் சோர்சஸ், மிக்ஸ் ஆஃப் எனர்ஜி எஃபிஷியன்சி, இது ஒரு இன்டர்வியூ அரேஞ்ச்மெண்ட். சார் அதான் சொன்னாங்க, வாட் இஸ் அவர் ஆக்ஷன் பிளான்? We should have a mix of renewable energy sources which may not be totally having the energy density, but from clean energy sources. What is the action plan to take it forward? That is what is important.
Who has to make it? The action plan, who has to make it?
Only we, sir. We have created the problem.
Sir, sir, Inger
One
sir,
thing
I
is-
want to tell you, sir, நான் என்ன சொல்றேன், in Bangladesh, a urban poor who doesn't have khata of a land he is occupying to live, he's having on the top of his roof a solar trapping machine and earns 15,000 rupees.
Yes.
People know how to live through.
Yes.
Only we engineers know only one book, length into breadth into height into SR into percentage. That should change, sir.
You're right.
Engineers should think beyond. Go for best practices. It's not a billing the cat and all. People know how to live. It's going on. It's not. We are not the first or the last.
Sir, we are dependent on 5-year thinking process.
We should think for 20 years plan.
Thinking process.
You should not think only for 5 years. You should
We
think
should
for
think what you should have done
long-term
20 years
planning.
back, sir. You should have thought what should have been thought 20 years back. At least do that now.
Yes.
That's the action plan.
Thank you, sir.
You know, in Ingersoll, one thing you are just touched.
Yeah.
Fusion.
Yeah.
Fusion energy is coming in a big way. Tokamaks, so many tokamaks are coming up. So, which is clean energy, higher energy density. And what is required is, we may have to give a thrust instead of for the fusion energy in next 10 years. That will be a good source for energy.
Yes.
As Sir said, carbon footprint for each activity, before we have to have a mapping of the carbon footprint for the each activity, and we have to decide. Certain activity is going to produce a lot of carbon dioxide, you should stop it.
Absolutely.
Certain things which is the control measures, our pollution control or environmental control,
Exactly.
they should come into picture.
Yes.
And they should see that it is giving a balance.
Sir,
My
I was also
opinion,
moved by, excuse me, I was also moved by what Ingersoll sir is doing. 100% energy efficient at his home. See, we are having solar and wind at home. But what I have seen in Vietnam, they're depending on livestock and human waste, totally independent from LPG and electricity supply from outside. Can you imagine this? We can also do similar things. Sir, congratulations, Ingersoll sir. We're in the same community. We're also having solar and wind at home. It's partly substituting ours. Whereas you are doing 3 kilowatt, it's a very big boon because you are a climate hero now. You see, that is what is required.
Sir, I had a great opposition from my household. I spent 3 lakhs, sir. A lot of opposition. What you are doing? 3 lakhs you are spending away for generating some 1,000 rupees electricity bill. That's what their equation is. But you are rightly told, what is my carbon footprint? 0 now. My carbon footprint is 0. So
Nice. Congratulations. And at our home, we are having biogas plant.
Yes.
And also kitchen, biogas plant, solar and wind. See, these are all things engineers should practice, sir.
Yes.
Before we preach others, we should practice. Yeah. Satyama, see, you told all the things absolutely true. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sir, thank you so much, sir. Really,
Thank you.
we are very much happy, sir. We had a wonderful, clean energy. A lot of things we got imbibed in our mind. Really, it's a wonderful session. We enjoyed. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable time as well as your rich experience in this area. Really, we enjoyed. We are being also the boiler manufacturer. We know many things related easily. We could grasp many things. Thank you so much. And our BHL also gone for solar manufacturing. BHL, EDN, Bangalore units and all, they have tuned up to solar manufacturing, solar cells manufacturing. And we have our own 12 megawatts plant in our Trichy BHL in 3,000 acres campus. And we are also serving to the nation, the big way is going on. And we are also going for new business, nuclear business, other business and all. We are going there. As coal-fired boilers is, we are government is, we are thinking of going for the other way of producing energy. So coming to the next agenda, there is next week's program is emerging safety technologies in industry as well as erection boiler. Sir, yes sir.
One request is
the coming week Tuesday we have a program on 23. What sir? Please sir.
I have one request.
Yes, 23/8 we have program on emerging technologies. Yes sir. Yes sir. Please tell sir. Please tell sir.
This fuel cell hydrogen-based energy generation, that some compact unit, actually a portable unit for every home, which is beautifully designed by engineers, whether it's a fuel cell or whether it's a captive power plant, these type of things are to be developed. That is a very key. In fact, when I had gone to NLC, I told them, thermal power, we need it. We cannot survive without thermal power as on today. But please develop some fuel-based compact power, fuel cell-based. BHEL can take it up. That is my humble request that an institution like BHEL only can do this. I am very, very hopeful that BHEL should come out with fuel cell-based captive.
Yes, sir. Already formed a new business group, sir. New business group in Delhi, and people are working. One of our gentlemen, our chairman is working on that.
Yeah, please look into that.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. We will make it, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So next week's program is that is emerging technologies in safety area of industry as well as erection of boilers.
Yes.
And I request all the members to participate and get benefited. Share the information. I will also share with the WhatsApp as a mail also.
Okay.
Then coming to vote of thanks, I call our secretary, Dr. Kevin R. Kumar, is engaged some meeting. I say he could not come. So first of all, we thank Dr. Ingersal sir for his excellent delivery about clean energy solutions. We got a lot of good thoughts from him. Thank you so much. Or we'll try to implement BHL as well as we'll suggest other people also. Sir. Thank you so much. And I thank all the members of our institution as well as participants from all over the country, as well as Madam Ramani Bhai from the Malaysia University joined today. And thank you so much, Professor Tinavakarasu, our source servant sir from Madurai, Jagannatha Venkatramaya, John Ravi Kumar sir, Virendra Kumar, Muriyesam, Amma Simani, K.S. Selvararajan, Durai Murugan, Rajeswara, Surya, Kanagaraj, Abhi, Narayan Swami, everybody, for everyone we thank, and we are looking forward to your participation in future also. We thank all the members of the Institution of Engineers, Computer Society of India, Institute of Metals, Institute of Non-Industrial Testing, Indian Welding Society, Indian Institute of Welding for their active participation. Thank you so much, sir. With the permission of Ingersal sir, we shall close the program, sir. Thank you, sir. Good night, sir.
Thank you.
Sir. Good night, sir. Good night to everyone, sir. Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Dr. Ingersal. Thank you, Selvaraj. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good night, everyone. Good night.
Yeah.
So with the permission, I will close the program. Thank you.